Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Mortals. Mortals is a cooperative game for 2 to 5 people in which each person takes on the role of a god that has lost their deific powers, if you will, and they have been cast down upon the world, and they're just going about their kind of normal life, if you will. And they come from, like, there's Greek gods and Norse gods and so on and so forth. They found out that their power was actually stolen by this destroyer that's coming to, well, destroy the world, and they're going to do battle with said destroyer in a museum. Why not? In the hopes that once they can save the world and reclaim their lost power. It is a very, very fun game full of lots of dice rolling, lots of cool character powers, and lots of just narrative awesome goodness. So let me show you how the game is played, and we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, let's learn how to play Mortals. So, to begin the game, you're going to set up the museum that you're going to be running around in and having these battles with the destroyers. These tiles, you shuffle them up and you place them down in any order. It doesn't matter how you set it up, they will match up. The openings are on all the sides, so it will work. Each one of these has a number, like here's number 6, there's number 1, here's number 5, and each one of those you're going to put one of these blue 6-sideds represents a seal. Not like an or seal, like a seal that's preventing the destroyer from entering the world. The goal of the players is to destroy all 6 of these seals before time runs out, because if they can do that, then they don't have to face the destroyer who will try to kill them. However, you don't just automatically lose if the destroyer shows up. You do fight the destroyer at that point. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. You'll notice that there are walls. As you can see, normally you can't go through those. There's going to be ways for both some of the monsters and the players to supersede that and cheat and be able to go through them. For the most part, the walls will determine like where you can go and also line of sight and those types of things. Alright, so each player will get one of these cards that will represent the immortal, the god that they were, that has now unfortunately become a mortal person. But they're attempting to possibly reclaim their godhood and prevent the end of the world. And so obviously, like, it's like Zeus, the electrician, obviously Thor, the contractor. So I mean, they're having some fun with these gods. I do like Poseidon, the surfer, or whatever. So they're having a little bit of fun with that, and allowing you to have like, what if these gods lost their powers and were walking around the earth? What would they be, right? And so, like, each one of these will have, like, their health that, like, as it decreases, and you can get healed, but you can never get healed up higher than that. And also an XP track on the bottom. The XP track is important because when you start off, you just have your basic power here, and then when you reach this point, you unlock this power, and when you reach this point, you unlock this power. This symbol here denotes whether they are like a spellcaster or, let me find a brawler. I'll probably just find Thor, because obviously he's going to be a brawler type. Yeah, here he is. Actually, no, I think this is Heimdall, but regardless, it doesn't matter. And so that little symbol means that they are a brawler. It doesn't matter too much, except for one thing, and I'll talk about that, but basically, brawlers, normally they have to be in the same spot as other things that they want to fight them. You'll notice they have a range of 0 on their attack there, whereas, here, Poseidon actually has a range on it, like he can be 1 space away, and some of the other ones have more. These, the spellcasters, they're the ranged attacks. They don't get to necessarily pick the thing that they're attacking, which is, kind of important. Whereas brawlers, they can just pick whatever they want, whether they are in that spot. So then each one will have, like, the attack is the all-seeing eye for an eye. It says roll 2 dice, deal 1 damage for every 3 plus, and Heimdall may add 1 die to the attack for every 2 points of hit points that he's missing. So he just has, like, cool little special powers. And the thing is that there's a lot of these. abilities, which I really appreciate, because when you have a lot of different characters, it allows you to kind of play the game differently, and having, like, you know, different powers and abilities. And just to go through, so like this is the free action. Everyone has this, which they unlock. Free actions just allow them to do something special. Place Heimdall on any player's occupied space. This ignores mob rules and walls. Mob rule basically like is if you're surrounded by enemies. That's what the mob rule is. And also then you have as above, but Heimdall may also heal one player in the space he arrives for 1 point of damage. And I'll explain what these two symbols are here in just a little bit. Just keep that in mind. Finally, if you reach the end of your XP track, it says, the first time Heimdall is reduced to 0 hit points, he returns to 1 hit point at the start of the next player's phase. Any negative effects are removed. So, like, his God mode powers that basically he gets a resurrection. So, and each one of the players has a unique ability like that. Alright, so before the game begins, you're going to pick the destroyer that you're going to be fighting. I have 4 of them. We have Kraken, Fenrir, Death, and Apophis. Each one of these has these 2 special abilities with these symbols. When there's a chance that these effects will occur as you are fighting in the game, but also if they get summoned, you will roll a die and you'll see if these things can happen. And each one of these is different. So like, and they can attack as well and do damage, but you know, it's something where they can do something extra. So like here, like the Riptide, move all players 1 space towards the closest spawn point. If they are monsters on that space, they move with them, and then all players lose 1 move this round. So it's just little special powers that happen. Other than that, the game is fairly straightforward. There are 3 phases of each turn, and depending upon how many players you have, the game is going to last a certain number of turns. And so, like, you know, have this, and then so you're going to do turn 1, and then you'll turn the dial here to, if I can actually move this, you'll turn the dial to, and this is ridiculous. There we go. So, oh, I'm sorry, and then like 2, 3, and so forth. And so as you turn the dial, like depending upon how many, like I said, how many players you have. With fewer players, you're going to have more turns to do it. With more players, you're going to have less. Basically, you don't once again lose if you run out of turns. What happens is that then if you haven't destroyed all the seals, then the destroyer appears and you'll have to deal with them. Anyway, so each turn we'll process like this. There is a spawn phase, and then the player phase, and then the monster phase. So the spawn phase is pretty simple. Just depending upon how many players you have, you're going to roll a certain number of dice. So if you have 3 players, you're going to roll 3 dice. And so you just take 3 dice, and you're going to roll them, and we're going to get a 3, 5, 5. And so what we'll do is we'll line those up, and we're going to just spawn things in those areas. And so you're going to like open up, and so like the first thing is you're going to spawn 3 ghouls at spot number 3. And so so you have these little here, let me show you, like these little standees for these ghouls, and then you're going to take those, you're going to find spot number 3, which is right here, and you're just going to put them on that location. So then you're going to turn the next one over, and then now this one is going to say spawn 1 lich. Now the difference between ghouls and liches, ghouls just have fewer actions than liches, and I'll explain that what the actions are used for and what they do when we get to the next when we actually show the monster phase. But now we're going to find spot number 5, which is there, and we're going to put that one there. And then 1 more spawn, and oh, okay, and we actually got a special creature. So so this is like the Draugr, and it says movement. It ignores walls. Once again, as I said, these things can break the rules. So when one of these appears, you put it to the side, and you're going to take a 12-sided die, and you're going to find that it has 8 hit points. So I'm going to turn this and hopefully find an 8. There it is. And then you're just going to put that on the health there. Everything else except for the big bad monsters and these things, these all have 1 hit point. So 1 hit point destroys it. Alright, so then after you do the spawn phase, then that's when the players are going to move. and act. Players get 2 move actions, and they get 2 actions. Actions are usually going to be like attacks, but they can be like trading with other players and things like that. So to determine where everybody's going to start, one person is going to roll a die. And you'll notice that on each one of these tiles, there's like these impact craters here. Basically, this is the sound of the gods smashing down and entering that spot. So you roll a die, we're going to get a 1. No, that's a 2. 1. So they're going to hit here, and they're going to start off there. And so let's go ahead and let's put Thor. I'm just going to have 3 players here, and I'm not choosing these with any specific purpose or reasoning. I'm just going to drop them down there, and so we're going to put those on those spots, and there we go. So there's our 3 spots, and that's where they're going to start. Now the players can take their actions, and one of the things is like at the beginning it's going to be really. Oh, and I apologize. I forgot to put the Draugr out there, and there we go. We'll put the Draugr out there right there. So at the very beginning, it's going to be relatively simple. Usually with the spawns, especially with only 3 players. You don't have anything you have to deal with right now. You can break free. You can start moving towards and trying to destroy these spots and trying to destroy those seals. But time is against you in these games, and because of the fact that you're always spawning creatures and you're always running into more and more deadly things, it isn't as easy. Plus, you can't just sit there and it isn't like these are easy either. It does take 6 points of damage to destroy one, and while you're beating it down, you are going to run the risk of having things spawn right there next to you, or things coming up to attack you. So if you start this, let's say maybe Heimdall and Thor, they're going to take, let's just do Heimdall's turn, for example. So he does 2 move actions, and he ends up in that location next to that seal, and he's going to attempt to hit it. And so if we looked at the attack again, it says roll 2 dice and deal 1 damage on each 3 or above. And so he's going to do 1 action to attack. And I should mention that you can do like move, attack, attack, move, move, attack, move, attack, attack, move, attack, move. You can, or I shouldn't say that it is always going to be attack either. I mean, you can just move, action, 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 move, move. You can split them up however you want. So let's just see, like, so we're going to roll, and I got a 5. So I did 1 point of damage, so I can reduce this one down to 5. And then for my next attack, we're going to roll again, and I got 1 more hit, and we're going to reduce that down to 4. Alright, cool. Now, something neat that happened is because of the fact that I did damage this turn, I can draw from this deck right here, and this is like the common items deck. Basically, these are considered to be like items that are laying around the museum, and these are one-shot items that you use and discard. So here's this monocle, increase or decrease range by 1 for the next attack. So like you can, and you might be saying, well, why would I want to decrease the range? If you do that, sometimes like certain, depending upon the range of the attack, you get to have different effects, and so you can use this monocle for that purpose. So I can hold on to this, and I can use it later for a thing. And I'll show you some more of those things, in the future as well. I'll show you some more of those cards. All right, so I'm just, I'm not going to go through their turns, but let's just say Thor was there, and let's move, he moved over there, and he's going to try to get to that one. And maybe Thor did his attacks, but totally failed and didn't get anything. Now we would move our monsters. Now, these are mythics, these larger ones. And like this guy, the mythic, obviously, because of his ability that he can go right through walls, he's going to be able to get close to the players a lot faster than the other ones who have to go around. So ghouls have 2 actions, 2 monster actions, and liches have 3 actions, and mythics have 3 actions. So in this situation, what's going to happen is that they're going to use, he would use all 3 of his mythic actions to get, because you might be wondering, well, where do they go? They're always going to be trying to get to the players, to try to hurt them. And so with this one would go 1, 2, 3. Remember, he has to go around the walls, unlike this. And then these would go 1, 2, 1, 2. Because they're always going to take the, like, and if you ever have any question, like, how many spaces you go, like, so it'd be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to go that way, whereas it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to go that way. That's how you would determine those particular things. If you ever have a situation where you have like an equidistant, like if you had, these two here and here, and there's a monster there, and you had to pick, you roll a die randomly to see, which way they go. But usually, you're going to have, and I should mention also, like, there's a greater concentration like this, it'll go towards the greater concentration of creatures as well. So, so it's one of those things where it's pretty straightforward as far as like the AI of where the monsters will go. But just if you ever have an equal situation, you just roll the dice and determine which way they go. Now, I can't do any attacks here because we used all the attacks, but let's say next turn this was exactly the same in that situation. And he was there, he would do 3 points of damage. That can be divvied up however these players want to. One person can take 2, one person can take 1, one person can take all 3, the other person takes 0. It's up to the players when damage is done. So you don't have to roll randomly to see which ones. The players can be deterministic as far as that goes. The one cool thing about these mythics is that, one, if a mythic is killed, I should mention that if you kill a minion, they're obviously removed. So, like, if this guy fought this minion, did 1 point of damage, destroyed it, you take it off the board, and that particular hero would get 1 experience for killing that particular creature. If you destroy a seal, then all the players, doesn't matter who did it, every single player gets 3 experience points. If you destroy a mythic creature, then all players get 3 experience points. However, the person who did the last point of damage to the mythic creature gets to grab a card from this legendary item deck. And unlike these particular items, these are not like one-shot items. You get to keep using them. And some of them, like this one, if you have the correct god, Hela, it's like you get to unlock, if they reach god mode experience, they get a special ability. But the one on top is always available to whoever it has. And you can trade these to other players if you're on their same spot with an action. Some of them will just be, Hugin and Moonin, when rolling for a free action, roll twice and take the higher result. So some of them just will be generic, but there are ones that are going to be specific for the different gods. Now, that thing mentioned the free action. I should mention the free actions again. The free action actually has a die, and so when you use the free action, you actually have to roll the die. And once again, it is a free action; doesn't take an action to do it. You'll notice there's one that has the special result, like the upgraded result here. There's a die result that has that on it. And then there's blank ones, and if you get a blank result, nothing happens, and then if you get that result, it just works. And so, like, if I'm going to use that free action, you roll the die, that means that that particular turn, Heimdall would be able to place on any player-occupied space, so he could just teleport to that person. And then you ignore mob rule and also walls. So that's how free actions work. Alright, so let's say you don't destroy all of the seals and the game runs its course and you go through all the turns. Then you're going to have the big baddies show up, and then they have their very own card as well. You roll a die to see which spot they spawn at. So in this case, they would spawn at spawn point number 4. When they spawn there, you will, I think, yeah, there we go. They spawn, and they have 6 actions where they go. So they get to move really fast, and if they happen to be in the same spot as a god, they can really do a lot of damage and hurt really, really bad. They also do have their own die that you're going to roll every single turn. This die it's black, it has some blank spots, meaning nothing happens, but it has that skull on it, and it has that skull on it. And if you happen to roll those, then the effect takes place that is listed on there, and you have to do that. Also, I should mention, just while I'm talking about this, is that within this deck, there are these cards like these influence cards, meaning that when those happen, you have that effect occur instead of spawning monsters. So those are located within that deck as well, which can also add some problems to the players. So that, in a nutshell, is the game. Each person just takes a turn. They try to do the best job they can. Everybody's going to be working together. You lose in two ways. If before the destroyer is summoned, any player loses their life. If they die, then everybody loses because you can't continue on. Or if after the destroyer is summoned, then it kills everybody and everybody dies, and then obviously that will end the game as well. However, if the destroyer is here and it's fighting everybody, and say it kills Thor, the game still continues until like all of them are dead. Losing one player won't end the game. And as I said, you win the game by either destroying all the seals or destroying the destroyer once it is summoned. I've played lots of games like this. I really like games like this because of the fact that it is a very straightforward co-op. It is a really cool theme, and I'll talk a little bit about that in my final thoughts. But it is just one of those games that is just fun to just roll a bunch of buckets of dice and have items and have cool things that you draw and all these cool different powers where everybody can work together and just succeed or fail together and still have a good time regardless of the outcome. But I'll talk more about that in my final thoughts. Alright, thank you very much for learning how to play Mortals. I hope you enjoyed that. Just one quick thing. Did you read the comic book Mage the Ascension? I forget who wrote it. It kind of reminded me a little bit about this. It was kind of this idea that there was this super powerful mythological guy walking around who didn't really recognize how he was that powerful or how he got there. Really cool stuff. Check it out. Good stuff. Anyway, regardless, this is a game that I knew I was going to like just because I knew the theme was going to be fun. I knew the mechanisms were going to be fun. It's one of those games that just, like I've said before, like one of the first games that got me in the hobby was Arkham Horror. A cool game about, with a bunch of dice and a cool theme and just everybody kind of working together towards a really powerful entity. And this game kind of takes that and I don't know what it was. It was just kind of like, it was more of like a fast and fun version of that, right? There wasn't like this like horrible macabre, like, oh my gosh, the world's going to end kind of thing. This is more of just like fastly racing through a museum, smashing things, killing undead, fighting these cool creatures that were just being created and racing against time. And I guess I kind of like the little bit of lightheartedness to it. Now with a co-op, I'm always looking for a game that's going to kick my butt the first time we played it, and it definitely did. I don't want the game to take it easy on me, and this is a game that does that. It definitely scales well to the number of players that you have, and it is a very, very challenging game. But if you all work together and a few lucky dice rolls along the way, you will come out on top, and that's why when you win, it actually feels really, really cool. So if you like co-ops and you like dice co-ops, I think you're really, really going to enjoy this. I really like the theme. I like the humor, and I liked the fact that it had that narrative feel to it, like telling the story. You can kind of picture the battles in your head. And plus, it was one of those things, as I said, if we lost, we still had a lot of fun playing it, and we wanted to just start it up and play it again. Tons of cool creatures, tons of cool, there's multiple destroyers you can fight, and multiple characters as well to keep the game fresh and fun. So go ahead, check out Mortals. If you got any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. Until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day.